So, folks, I like to introduce people as royalty, and I enjoy when I have royalty in the building. Mr. I know you're going to.
I good, man. I real good. Nice to be here.
Listen, I want people to know that we nearly record a whole podcast before we started recording.
For real.
And man, I'm looking forward to talking to you for a long time. I want to start with this year. You know, what was your competition and thing this year? Second place?
Yeah, it was good. Nice season, you know. I have to be thankful for all the blessings, and this year was really nice.
Yeah, this year was one of them. You get rid of Dr. Rowe, boy.
Oh, boy. Well, that's part of it. That's part of what the Calypsonians represent. You know, we tend to feed off of the people and translate the vibrations coming from the people. And this song was just one of those translations in terms of what I was feeling on the ground. And I just translated it into lyrics.
Yeah, somebody who are wrong. I feel you captured perfectly.
Yeah, man.
Like, I remember the statement when he was initially talking about retiring or stepping away from the political arena. And one of the things he said was, too much vitriol, it gets too nasty, it gets too...
Yeah.
And I remember thinking at the time, but it's been that way. I feel like that's something that every prime minister, everybody who in public life is dealing with. Not just politicians either.
And he had it nice. He had it nice for 10 years, you know.
Compared to some others, right?
Yes. Compared to A&R Robinson, Pandey, even
Chambers,
Kamla, you know. Just as the song said, you call Chambers Duncy. You beat A&R like a bubbly. We call Manning Emperor. We call Kamla Drunker. Nobody said anything about this man for 10 years, you know. So
you had a little bit of an easy road in the public.
Very yes.
But the man step aside and thing, and I tell myself, like I was telling you before, once the Monarch come and I watch the competition, I just feel Kurt Allen cannot lose. I say he can't lose. And this was one of them years for me too.
Yeah, man.
Because one of your first wins was also when, your Monarch win.
2010.
Yeah. Was a transition year too.
Yes, exactly. Well, no, as a matter of fact, the government had 3 more years before they call an election.
Right.
So nobody was expecting, well, okay, an election is going to be called this year.
Election, right?
And within 2 months after the competition, change of government.
Right.
And similar situation, but the change of the same government after.
So you can't lose. I say you can't lose. The thing line back up right down your alley again.
Yeah, man.
And you had a piece of political commentary this year, so it's powerful.
Yeah, man.
It's powerful. I had to ask you about Skinner Park this year before we go back into the history. Because see, when you come out, I see toilet paper like dirt.
Yeah, you know, I was disappointed. Disappointed not because of the toilet paper. I mean, I've seen that with many artists before. But disappointed to know that I've given all that I could give over the years to Skinner Park in terms of delivering my messages. And this message was no different, but they saw it as an anti-PNM song. And, you know, that was disappointing because Skinner Park is the place that you look forward to for understanding Kaiso, understanding what is true Kaiso. And I thought they would have been bigger than that. But when you look at the tape, and from my experience in front, there was just a handful of people in front with the toilet paper. And some of them were reluctant. They're looking at me and smiling, and you can see they're doing this because probably they have to do it or some, you know, they were under some kind of pressure to do it.
External forces.
Yeah, but when you look at previous toilet paper issues with people like Gypsy or Shagalos, you would see the entire pack. So I knew that it was a respectful toilet paper wave, but I found that, hey, you all should know better. This is good. This is not somebody who has ever chosen a political side or somebody who is noted to be aggressive towards politicians. I just say it as I see it, and it came from them. They are the people that feed me to sing what I sing. So that was a disappointment.
Yeah, but you never waver, you never falter. I was looking for it. I say,
no. They can't. Nothing like that can intimidate me. I mean,
serious.
You see, it's experience as well, not just from the Calypso stage. But I was a former lead singer of Roy Cape All Stars. And sometimes you go into a fete where the bigger bands and the people, nobody, when it's time for you to sing, nobody can come to the front of the stage, or they stand up looking at you, or they're telling you, go now, I'll be waiting to hear somebody else. Or you're coming after a big gun and, you know, nobody taking you on. So I think that experience prepared me for dealing with any type of audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, the band singing.
Stand and deliver.
Man. Yeah, I know it's a message I came to deliver. I know I wasn't going to be attacking anybody or attacking any individual. It's a message.
Right.
And how you take the message, if you want to shoot the messenger, then that's part of the job, as far as I see.
You say it's a great obligation.
Yeah, it is. It is. Seriously, it is.
Yeah, something you take seriously.
Very seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went to the final again. And I was saying it as well as it was almost like technical difficulties in the final this year. Not something we are accustomed seeing in our Monarch.
Yes. A lot of technical difficulties.
Yeah, some of the initial performers, you could hear that to me, it was something like they're not hearing, you know?
Well, what was happening from a technical point of view, the drum machine, because a lot of the artists, or some of the artists were using drum machine. And once the drum machine came on, it was conflicting with the sound. It was getting a kind of a feedback, a bounce back.
Right.
So you're hearing one thing in the monitor, and you're hearing another thing coming at you from outside.
Yeah, that's dead for a performance.
So you have to decide which one of these beats you're going with.
You had to pick one.
So I picked the one from outside, what the people were hearing.
Okay.
And after I just experienced 10 seconds of it, because my wife, who is not any technical person,
right,
but she picked up that the people with the drum machines were having problems. So she instructed the drummer, take that drum machine off. And that is what I think saved my performance.
Yeah. Because I was looking at it now and I'm watching the later performers and I'm saying, all right, well, what kind of competition we're going to have now? I don't pick my horses. I say, I know, no, you're not sure.
Yeah.
And but by the time you came on, it seemed to be that it was flawless again.
Yeah.
Stand and deliver.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
How you felt about the result?
The result, I mean, once you enter yourself in a competition, you have to be prepared for anything.
Right.
I mean, I've come as low as 8th, 9th, so that when you're waiting for the result, you know your number can call at any point, you know.
When you're backstage, you're waiting, you're not sure, you're never very sure.
You're not sure of anything. You're not sure of anything because, I mean, you might want to believe that you delivered a perfect performance and, you know, and you please the people, you please the judges. But the judges see things differently all the time. And then you have to cater for that. You always have to cater for it. The result for me, while I accept the results, but information coming after the competition would suggest that the results could have been different. Let's put it that way. Yeah. It will suggest that based on the evidence that we have. But that's part of the competition. We're not taking away anything from the reigning Calypso Monarch, Heland Francis.
Yeah, he was good at it.
He ran a good race and he did what he had to do. And he is the monarch,
of course,
without question.
Yeah, you respect that.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, well, this song was similar, I guess similar vein because they was looking at the outgoing prime minister.
Yeah. One was in your face, and one was diplomatic. I write you a letter. And one was saying, tear up the letter, let me talk. So it was a different approach. And I guess they went with the softer touch.
Right.
So I have no problem with
that. So you plan to soften your touch?
No, but it's not about me planning to soften or not soften. It's whatever is dictated by the people.
Right.
I will give you okay. If you look at my 2016 recording, which was a song talking about rainbow, and it was saying, you know, the new government is now coming and settle. I see a rainbow. I see a beautiful rainbow. That song was written at the same time with this song, the same date, 2015. Yes. Because if you examine the lyrics properly, it was saying, okay, you now come, but it's your turn now. It's your turn as prime minister in terms of when you're coming for your first term. We call Eric this and we call this your turn now.
Right.
But I didn't feel in the climate, it was the appropriate song to sing then. Okay. So I chose the other one, which is called Pot of Gold.
Right.
But these two songs were written at the same period for the same reason. Yeah.
So it's just update and go.
Yeah, it's just the last verse is only one verse I added. If you listen to the lyrics, all the information in that song took place between the years 2010, 2015. The email gate, the section 34. Everything. Just listen to the lyrics. Everything. The last verse is what mentioned Stuart Young.
Right.
And that was the new verse.
Of course, well, that was
if you look at my computer, you will see the date of that song. Yeah. Same lyrics, everything.
Yeah, that's mind blowing. So
it was the right time.
All right.
Timing is everything. That's what a good calypso is. Not just about the lyrics, it's about being relevant and timely. There are songs that won Calypso Monarch. Probably if you look at Sparrow's song Education, which is a timeless song.
Yeah.
But would it have won a Calypso Monarch in 2000 or coming up against Black Stallion with Bundem, you know, at that time? So it's about being relevant and timely.
You see many songs like that. Like when I look back at, I was comparing this year and last year in terms of the Monarch to 86, 87, which would be two of the strongest years.
Rudder and Stallion.
Yeah, strong. You know where I always watch? There's Carnival Institute. It's so hard to find the information sometimes, but Carnival Institute, I say salute to them. If I email them, they will give me the full rundown of the competition, semis and everything.
Right.
And when you see these songs that lost.
you see? Exactly, man.
Where Captain the Ship is sinking.
Yeah.
Ninth.
Yeah. Explainer had many songs.
Oh, yeah.
And you thought, well, this year Explainer is going to win that crown.
Of course.
Progress with King Austin. You know, so many.
Yeah.
You can call it.
So when you're writing songs, you enter the competitions all the time. You're conscious of how long the music lasts after the competition.
Yes, definitely. In this era, where you find that most of the songs are not recorded or receive the airplay. In terms of the people knowing the songs, no. But back then, everybody was singing word for word.
Yeah.
You know, and back then now you would know that this man have a party song. So you're waiting to see if he have a strong social commentary to go with that for the finals. And you know, it was like that. But no, you don't find Calypsonians releasing recordings in October and getting that airplay for people, for the nation to say, okay, I like this song, I hear this song. No, we basically operate with you come into the tent.
If you do.
If you're in a tent as well.
A lot of times people, the fans or the fringe fans, let me say, you hear it skin a package first time hearing some of the songs, that way have everybody attention.
Exactly.
Well, they are too excited to talk to Kidal enough. Forget to get water and all them things. I'm taking a pause. Right, I'm glad we get that sorted out. You know what I mean? I'm not a young man, and my brain is so great. I was gonna ask you as well, with the popular songs, because we come from a time where the crowd would have known the songs going into the competition. The indie tents a lot, they're playing on the radio. And I've seen a resurgence now where, because of most of the music is on YouTube or it's accessible, like I could find all your songs over the years on YouTube. You still feel as though people not listening to it on the socials and that kind of thing? They're coming brand new?
No, a lot of people, that's where they get it as a matter of fact, because they're not getting it on the radio stations. So obviously now the focus for a lot of the artists, like such as myself, is to get that social media presence. YouTube is the main source, so the main hub.
Right.
For getting the music. And that in itself, when an artist knows that he's not going to get airplay, it changes the type of compositions, because he's not going to be really focusing much on the dancing, and part of it is more like lyrics. Gotcha. That's the focus. If you look at the Calypso Monarch competition from in terms of this new era, as in comparison to before, you would always get a hardcore social commentary, but then the second song would be something like Meme, Drunk and Disorderly, Saltfish, these kind of songs, which is not considered hardcore social commentaries. Even when Black Stallion would have won the crown with a serious composition, and then Sundar was a serious lyrical song, but it had that vibration to make it dance. Black Man Feeling to Party, serious lyrics, but then the music. Because he knew at that time, Calypso still getting airplay, so you could still cater for it.
I understand.
But now you're not getting any airplay except for WAC radio.
Of course, Kenny. I see you and Kenny have a hell of a relationship.
Yeah, man.
I studying now. I say, all right, this man coming in. We booked to do it earlier. And I'm watching you and Kenny. As you pull up Kenny, see where is my loss again.
Kenny have a license to tell me anything.
It seems so. Yeah. Like when watching sports teams, when you talk to sportsmen and they go in a final and they lost, you stay with them for a long time. That's the experience with you too. You hold on to it.
No, not me. I move on.
Yeah, because you laughing when he tell you he lost.
Yeah, I move on a long time, Yeah, nice man, he can do things like that. He lost too because he produces songs, so he lost too.
Is that joint?
I tell him to go buy somebody else next year. I'm winning producer.
But I like the little series all you're doing. Before we go back in the day, all you was working on a series.
Yeah, we're still doing it. That's ongoing. We paused because of the election, but it's on again. Right now we are doing it with a St. Lucian artist by the name of Solange.
Right.
She is attempting to do well in the Calypso Monarch competition in St. Lucia.
I see.
So we are working with her. And that series is ongoing. We already did some of the filming for it.
Oh, good.
So that should be out by next week.
Yeah, I feel like some of them things, and I like the initiative you're taking on that, because that might be what replaces the radio player.
Yeah, especially when you're in a period where people say that after Carnival, you don't hear anything Calypso, you don't hear anything Soca. This is our way of keeping Calypso relevant and alive during the year.
Of course.
Because it's something that we're going to be doing like every 2 weeks, As I said,
really
we paused
for
the election, and I'm encouraging other Calypsonians as well to start releasing music during the year to cater for different seasons and different occasions. We don't always have to wait until Carnival season to focus on the competitive side of things, so you're bringing your lyrics for competition.
Right.
All now is a nice time to release lighter songs,
Yeah, I like the point I make. I never thought of it that way, because I suppose there's no payoff as a musician for going into that sort of party song or a borderline song if it's not going to play anyway.
Exactly.
I do find as well that one of my critiques of the Calypsonian these days is that you find that the quality of the music that they put up on YouTube, even though the lyrics might be strong, where you guys a lot of it's like schoolboy synthesizer
I
music.
understand
You
that
understand what I mean?
carefully. No, there's a reason for that. The artists today, they are the ones producing themselves, and sometimes financially, it's an investment, and they know fully well they're not going to get back that investment. It's just to keep yourself relevant and out there. When you talk about all the hits from the Sparrows come up the road, they were being produced by people like Straker's Record, by Charlie's, and by different people who were investing to produce the music, so that you found that the quality and the standard of the musicianship, the sound, everything is well taken care of. It's live music and it's a big studio because somebody's investing. They never had to take that money out of their pockets. No, the artists has to fund their own things because that market is dried up.
Of course,
the people who are producing, they're producing the soca artists. They're not producing the calypso artists. So you're going to always find that standard a bit lower. I am fortunate to be working with people like Kenny Phillip and people like Garrett Sawyer based in the US. So I'm always working with live musicians and bringing a full team together. But not everyone has that luxury.
I understand. It makes sense. So don't pack around. Will you really write that so fast?
Yeah, well, that was that was a quick one. I mean, once the concept of our idea come, don't pack around, and it was exciting us.
Right.
So it was easy to flow from there. And it's a serious issue when you're dealing with foreign relations and that kind of not big brother, but big brother bully attitude towards the Caribbean in particular. And we have to say something. This is the land of Calypso. We must defend ourselves in Calypso as well.
Yeah.
So I use Calypso as a means of getting that message across. Don't pack around when it comes to our sovereignty.
Boy, listen, I see it, and again, I just like this series they're always doing, because who I always remember, like, I watched this fella Hammond Bruce and how he stays on social media. He always talking about that issue, and it's funny, but it makes it good for the competition, because now when you're watching Skinner Park, you ain't looking, it's not a final, you're looking for a show.
Exactly.
And he contributes to that show a lot. Yeah. So when you take an issue that's so live and it's like, that's how social media works now. At that time, we used to wait for the news the next morning.
That's itself. We always wait for, the Calypsonians always wait for the carnival season. So sometimes things happen all during the year and you're not hearing about it. And then carnival, you get saturated with everybody singing about the same thing. No. If it's happening, we could bring this thing in real time. And that's the purpose of that series. We're going to be bringing the issues in real time. As I said, we paused because of the election, but within 2 weeks, you're going to be seeing us.
I love it. Yeah. I encourage people to go and listen to that song at Don't Pack Around, because I saw that video come out, must be the week after Carnival. It wasn't long after Carnival.
Exactly, yeah.
But watch how that issue escalate from then till now.
Yeah.
This is,
yeah.
Somebody had to say it.
The Dragon Deal could be included in that issue as well. Anything.
Just keep, it's almost like this song, every time you listen, because I listened to it then, and before we come to the I still, let me take it in, and it's something else. And then you touch on a song too from Crow, one of the most controversial songs.
Again, people were commenting during the election season that a black man, once you're black, and you vote for, that is how they put that across, and you vote for the UNC. You're a lick bottom African. And again, I think I was asked to represent to say something about it.
Right.
And while I have nothing, I even Crow might be hearing this, not me and you, you like use Crow. I imagine we use the Crow. So me, I think with you, but
it might be the last matchup, but he's one of the first.
Yeah. So it's nothing against Crow per se, but we had to comment on the issue.
Right.
That okay, you're suffering and you're going to be put in a race in terms of how you're eating, how you're living, how you're surviving. No, we need to grow up and move beyond the race politics. That's what the song was really about, because again, it did not choose sides. It didn't tell you to go left or to go right. It just laid the issue and the message on the table. Yeah,
controversial song when Crow sing it, but I mean, I like it because it's just his perspective.
Yeah.
And the Calypsonian must give their perspective.
Exactly.
And the Calypsonian must stay fresh to me, because when you give a perspective, a next man go get your own, which is what you did.
Yes.
Another song where when you listen to that song now and watch how the issue unfold. Because I watch the social media campaign and they say one party was paying social media influencers.
Yes.
And it's the same thing was being said about these youth men who have a platform. A youth man build a platform, you have 100,000 views. side with a political party. Maybe it's because he interested in it. Maybe it's because he get paid. But part of his job is to get paid. He's an influencer.
Yes.
And they say all kind of like bottom and sell out because you're not the same race as the people you might be supporting. Yeah. So again, I love this series. I think I didn't realize that is what you had in mind in terms of dealing with the issues as they
flow. As they come, we deal with it.
I love it. So talking about balance, right? One of the things that I notice about you is when you sing a song, you are that till you sing your next song. You feel that?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I laugh, because some people, they sing a song and they get married to that song, you know. So next year, they're still that. And the following year, they're still that until, you know, but because again, it's like a lawyer. A lawyer doesn't really, I mean, it's sad that in some cases, care if the client is guilty or not guilty. His job is to provide representation, the best representation for his client. And when he goes home to his wife or he goes home to his family, the case stays in the office.
Of course.
Same with me. My job is, as a Calypsonian, is to provide the best representation to the people without bias, without fear or favor. So when I'm done with the issue and the issue is done with, I move on. Because I know somebody else is going to continue that conversation. I mean, if you hear a song about violence today and you listen to a song about violence 10 years ago, it's the same conversation. It's just that we are carrying it out in a different space at a different time. But the essence of the lyrics and the what it represents is the same. Right. So I'm not going to get married to a concept or get married to a issue when I know that my job is to represent all the issues in our broader scheme of things.
I see. So you're the issue first for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And voice of the people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes you have some issues that are personal to me that I don't even sing about. Or, you know, like some people as a composer now. Yeah. I'll just use an example. Somebody might ask me to write a song about Allah. Right. And I might be a Buddhist, or I might be a Christian or something. But I have to show that Allah is God. And they ask me to write that song. I have to write the song.
Yeah, put yourself in a place to write.
Yeah, even though I may have a conflicting view. And that goes across the board, whether it's politics, sexuality, anything. I have to deal with it from a withdrawn perspective. And not too involved in the issue itself.
Yes, in terms of composing for
man.
People. Now you bring up Corie, right? You remember when he say a Vigo and piece of land in St. Madeleine, he was talking about Sugar Aloes going and singing the next party, remember?
Yeah.
It's something you would do as a Calypsonian. So when political parties might approach, you see so many artists now, from Trinidad to Calypsonian, Soca, you see where people lend their support, whether it's dub plates or whatever. Something you would do, appear on platforms,
I
sing
have
songs?
been approached just recently in the last election to perform for the two major parties.
I was going to ask if it's Kizelle Jackson. The two major parties.
The two major parties. Yeah. And I declined. And they will be hearing this interview and they will understand the reason I declined. As I told them directly, I'm a Calypsonian first. I represent... yellow is not my code, red is not my code. You see, my code is red, white, and black. And as a Calypsonian, that is what I do and what I say. I'm not going to try and influence my audience to go left or right. My job is to listen to my audience and understand what they're saying and put across a message, not to direct them. So you would never find me on a political platform. You would have never seen me on a political platform, because that is not who and what I represent.
I understand.
And that is clear. Although I see my other colleagues dancing and doing their thing, that is fine too. I'm not going to condemn them. That's what they want to do and that's what they feel comfortable doing. Go right ahead.
Right. So you're comfortable going on stage and tell Dr. Raw what it is, because I guess you're just balanced.
I've done it. I've told the deceased Patrick Manning what it is. I've told the present Prime Minister what it is. Listen to Political Symphony and all those songs, because they were in power at the time. During the period between 2010 to 2015. I was singing political commentary and who was in power. Before that, I was singing political commentary and who was in power. So it doesn't matter who is in power. As a matter of fact, once you are a government, you represent all of us.
Of course.
So from the time you become the government of Trinidad and Tobago, then you're going to get my commentaries come in.
I appreciate that. As a lover of the art form, I appreciate it. But the audience treats you the same way you approach it, because sometimes if you sing a song and you bad talk the current Prime Minister, no, they go say you're PNM until you sing a song bad talking. There's some you don't live with none of
bad talking, but it's not bad talking. Okay, if you could identify anything that I'm saying in a song that is not already in public domain, or is something that I sit down and made up. You know, I say, I mean, make up this about something, about somebody. Everything I've said, it's in public domain. or it has been said by the people. No, sometimes it's a difference between what is facts and what you put out there, right?
Sure.
Example, is it factual that Chambers was Duncy? Is it factual that Manning was a dictator? No, but that was said.
Of course.
And people were saying it. So it's not factual. Anything I am singing, it may not be factual that Dr. Rowley is this or anybody is that. But bet your life, what I'm saying has been said before. And some people believe it. So I just repeat it.
How with you?
And for example, there are lines in all my compositions. You'll notice that some lines will make you, that is done intentionally. There are lines that I place in a song to get your attention, even though you're not listening. When I say that, I know you will jump, and then that will force you now to listen to the other things I'm saying. So sometimes I put in that low blow that I myself finish and say, "God, but you're really saying that about the man, boy? But say what?" It's that because I know I don't mean it. I know I have to say it for emphasis and to get the attention.
Right. So you ever have issues with politicians, like when you see them around?
That's the nice thing about it, right? Because they understand. Even though their supporters may feel a how, they understand where I'm coming from. And they know there's no malice, there's no ill will, there's no ill intent. And I could look them in the eye and have that relationship with many of them.
I see.
Not just politicians in Trinidad and Tobago, politicians throughout the Caribbean that I'm very close with. Yes, including prime ministers, present prime ministers that I'm very close with.
Yeah.
So I stayed by their homes. Not, when I'm visiting their country, I stay at their home.
Really? They frighten you, write something about them?
They know who I am. They know who I am and they know my purpose.
Oh, with you. Well, let me get into a little bit of who you are now, because there's a particular song where when you sing about the different political parties, people pay attention to it, but there's a song you have where you turn the spotlight on us, on all of us. That first investigation. Powerful to me. I want to get back to that. But let me go back into some of the history now, because I was telling you that I feel, I tell myself as a Kurt Allen fan, I know this man, I know him from back in the day. So my plan to start this thing when we go to the history was Bees and Roy Cape. But then I hear you started talking about 1989 and saying you were as early as that in Calypso. And
yes,
Soca?
I am. I started in 1983.
In 83?
83 as a junior Calypsonian. And then I created a bit of a history in that area. In 1988, I composed for 6 finalists in the junior Calypso Monarch competition.
Yeah.
Also, including the eventual winner, Roger George. So I was noted as a composer for young artists at that time.
That time?
I was about 16, 17 at that time. Yeah.
So people come and say that you're from since then?
Well, I would go to a lot of people too.
Right.
If I see you have a little talent, and I say, hey, you sing a little Calypso. I'll write it for you, because that's part of my duty as well as a Calypsonian. And then I joined the New Wave Calypso tent in 1988. That's when I became friends with people like Tigress, Manchild, All Rounder, who was the head of the tent. Yeah, and that was my first experience into the Calypso tent world. I made, all that during that period, I was singing in what you call the Junior Young Kings, the NJA competition.
Yeah.
So I was performing well there. I usually come in second or third.
Right.
And in 1991, that's when my wife said, hey, you doing all this, but you ain't taking it too serious, because it was just fun for me.
Yeah.
She said, you had to get serious now. Do this and be serious about what you're doing. And within a year, the following year, I became the Junior Young King.
Right.
And then in 1993, I became Young Kings.
I see.
That is when I was founded, or discovered
yes,
by not Christian, I'm going to say Christopher Columbus.
Oh, well, of sorts.
By Lord Kitchener.
Oh, okay.
At the strange enough, at the semi-finals of the Calypso Monarch competition.
So those times you still with All Wrong the tent?
Yes, I was still with New Wave Calypso tent
nice.
for the 3 years. And then Kitchener, I was standing backstage looking at Gypsy's performance. By the way, that same year, Gypsy faced a lot of toilet paper. First, he had a song called Yesterday's Children. What's one of my favorite compositions. I'm standing backstage seeing what's happening. And Kitchener came to me, he said, young fella, you're singing with me next year.
Yeah, this is in Skinner Park.
In Skinner Park. I stood next day for the rest of the show until he dropped me home. Not directly, he dropped me in Crab Junction to get a taxi. So I was able to talk to him, and he was telling me, he was the one who said, Kurt Allen, after this, you will never have to audition for another Calypso tent. Once you're with the review, you do ever have to audition for another Calypso tent.
Yeah.
And I became a singer at the review Calypso tent. But before all that took place, I must mention,
sure,
in 1989, I made my first tour to Europe as lead singer of the band Roy Cape All Stars. And from 1989 to 1992, I was his lead vocalist.
Oh, really?
Until I joined Atlantic, which was the band in the party.
Yeah.
Because Roy Cape was still called the Roy Cape Calypso All Stars.
Band, right, at that time?
Yeah, it was considered a backing band.
Right.
And they were called Roy Cape Calypso All Stars, not Roy Cape All Stars. They dropped the Calypso when they got into the
That would have been the time when they were Spectacular's band.
Yes, I used to open the show in Spectacular.
Oh, serious?
As lead singer of the band, the guinea pig, the testy sound system.
Going out.
But you want that because you want that audience to see you. You're looking for a break. So you're taking that as the opening act. There's something big for you at the time, you know?
And people might remember, I don't know if people remember what the tent was like then, because the tent was, that sell out every night. Clash.
Yeah.
The tent used to go on tour. It was a different time. If the tent something could come back for you in the way it was then.
It could, it definitely could. It just needs some restructuring and administrative creativity.
Right.
Because if you notice, this is not a knock, because I just talk in place.
Sure.
Those days, the tents were operated by independent promoters, people who knew how to bring people to a show. Calypsonians may know how to entertain you, but they may not know how to bring you to a show. If you look at that setup from back then, when you had all these independent tents, almost every Calypsonian would have had a tent of their own at the time. To now, where the tent structure is operated by TUCO, and the TUCO members and the membership running the tent. I don't think that they know how to promote, to bring people out. We can entertain. So I think that is one of the things that we could restructure, to leave the promotion in the hands of the promoters. Because if you look at the spectacular shows that happens right now, people come out, right? And that's because of their credibility and stuff as promoters. People know spectacular promotions.
You're going to get a good show.
When you had Jazzy Panton running Kitchener tent, even though it's Kitchener's tent, you had Jazzy Panton and Sonny Woodley.
Business people, yeah.
Right? Cyril Shaw with the Young Brigade and Sparrow. So that they had that management structure who were also promoters to bring the people out. We don't have that anymore. The Calypsonians are promoting themselves.
Of course, yeah. Tricky. Yeah. So how you end up on Roy Cape? Like, what?
I was singing with the band called Afsak, another legendary. I'm sure you'll have heard of Mano Maslin. Who was one Brassarama.
Okay.
For a number of years. That in those days it was Brassarama and Mano Maslin was the main, one of the top people. Right. Winning it every year. His son, Curtis Maslin. And he has another son right now called Bert Maslin, who has the band Brass to the World.
Okay.
Right, so it's that same connection.
Okay,
I was singing with him at the time when I did a video, and Roy Cape saw the video and called me, and we never looked back. Now, being Roy Cape lead singer is one thing. But because of the institution that Roy Cape represented, Black Stallion was the lead vocalist with Roy Cape All Stars. So that when you're going on tour, you're essentially going on tour with Black Stallion. You're essentially going on tour with Baron, Bali, David Rudder, because it's a backing band. So that in my experience there, when you're sitting there, you're meeting every Calypsonian on the planet will have to come to that band room to rehearse. I am 17 years old. Youngest person in the band, witnessing all this and hearing all the history of Calypso, hearing all the backstage and behind the scenes stuff that happens in Calypso. I was an attentive student. So I learned basically from behind the microphone of singing chorus when we went to that European tour.
Right.
I was singing chorus for half of the show for David Rudder, for Baron, for Black Stallion, and then myself and Alan Welch will have a half an hour to sometimes open the show. Yeah. Or if there's enough time, we get a chance to close the show. Nice. Sometimes you wonder, these Calypsonians staying long on the stage and you're looking at the time.
You're looking for you.
Yeah, no people come to see you too because you make little friends.
Of course.
And sometimes they ain't get to see you perform because the promoter says show ends.
Right.
And you now ain't get to sing. Gotcha. So those are the things that I would call that the university that I passed through to graduate into the performer that I am today.
Of course.
Without Roy Cape All Stars, I don't think I would have been the performer that I am today, even though if I was singing Calypso in a tent. No way, Jose.
I got you.
No way. That experience is...
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, that's people you would idolize. And you get to see shoulder to shoulder with them, you know.
Yeah, man.
I'm with you. So, you're already composing Calypso, but you're on tour with them singing Soca. You're singing couples at that time.
Soca,
you're doing compositions yet. No. So when is really when your wife tell you and you go on with your own compositions?
That's when I got serious. That's when I really got serious about it in terms of like focusing, what you will say, to be a star.
Right.
Before I was just doing it for fun and, helping out others.
Right.
Yeah. But probably she know, well, okay, wife means you have to get, you have to support a wife, you have to support a child. So hey,
Of course,
you have to start to make some
serious
money from this
matters.
thing. Then, in
Of
other words,
course, yeah.
So I guess,
When my wife hears this, I go hear the same thing. The same story.
yeah, man. Yeah.
So from there, right, Roy Cape Kaiso All Stars eventually went into Roy Cape and the All Stars.
Also with Nigel and Marvin.
Right.
And that is history in itself.
Mhm.
And then in 1996, I was called again
Right.
to be part of that makeup.
Gotcha. So
Nigel and Marvin.
between 93 and 96, you're singing Calypso alone, or you
I was
take a band?
I was more or less as a band singer.
Okay.
So I was singing with Atlantic. I did a stint with Blue Ventures as well.
Mm-hmm. So when you were Atlantic, who was there? Who else was the lead singers with Atlantic at the time?
And Slim Douglas,
right?
Tony Prescott, Steve Seeley. So you see again, I'm the youngest in that lot. So again, it's another learning experience, learning from these guys who has been doing it.
So when Atlantic Band Room was in St. James Day,
I was there, man.
Serious?
Yeah, and then we moved into opposite TTT, that same road. I can't remember the name of the street. Marval Road. Yeah.
Yeah, I born and grew right there.
As a matter of fact, when we were in St. James, Destro was going to school at St. James.
Yeah, St. James.
School. So every day after school, we and Destro, we would come up there and carrying on conversations, because we are good friends,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's historical times. So what was that like with Atlantic at that point in time?
Atlantic was a super occasion, and sometimes only when you're out of a situation and years pass, you get to understand and appreciate what you were involved in. Cliff Harris, again, a promoter. A big promoter, Brass Festival, Fire Fest, Wasal, all these things. So you're not just there as a singer, you're getting a chance now to see a top event promoter at work.
Of course.
Because you'll be having these conversations, you're seeing people coming in and out of the office, and he's talking to you as a musician. You're in the company of some seasoned musician, people like Panky Boynes, and it was a learning experience. Now we could say that was my university education for who I am as an artist today.
Yeah, you could see
that was my UTT.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because we didn't have UTT at the time.
It's true.
Right.
It's true. No, I have a few lead singers here, and I always ask the level of competitiveness, because that would be Atlantic traffic.
I mean, come on, man. That was the days. That's when everybody was cutting. I personally, for me, I've never seen another lead vocalist of a band like Ronnie McIntosh. He was like,
I don't know if people understand.
Yeah,
if he wasn't there, yeah.
If it wasn't there, you wouldn't understand now, because you just say Ronnie McIntosh, Ronnie and Caro, but you don't know.
You know where I saw a glimpse of it before you go on? In Stalin's, they had a memorial thing for him on the promenade. It's in San Fernando, Harris Promenade. And Ronnie went and sang there. And you see a glimpse, like people get to see what it was.
That was magic, man. KV Charles. Russell Cadogan, even the late Hintel Dazzle, Tony Prescott, that is a force by itself. I perform with him, so I know what I'm saying. That is a force by itself, Just name them, man. Adrian Filbert, who was with Blue Ventures at the time.
Right.
Blacks, who I brought into Roy Cape All Stars.
Really?
Yeah, I used to sing. I did a stint with Blue Ventures, so I saw what he could do.
Right.
So when I became lead singer of Roy Cape All Stars and there was a vacancy, I went for Blacks. Derek Seals.
Yeah.
I used to look at Derek Seals and say, wow, I want to be like that. Then I brought Derek Seals in the band as well with Roy Cape. So, it was my opportunity not only to admire these people, but it was a chance to perform with them as well.
Of course.
With all the names I call there, the one that I pay special homage to is the late Alan Welch. Because in that trip I talked about in 1989 with Roy Cape, he was also the lead singer, and he was older than me with more experience. And he was the one who really taught me how to deal with a party audience.
Yeah.
I was a Calypsonian. He taught me how to deal with a party audience. And Juice Man, Steve, Sly, and all they will laugh at this one. The first gig I did with Roy Cape, I was singing Calypso before.
Right.
So when I came back in 1997 to do the first gig with Roy Cape, I dressed like a Calypsonian. So they called it a kite outfit, and boy, them fellas laughed their belly full because here it is now. I with the Roy Cape All Stars and look like a Calypsonian. That was the first and last time that happened. Right? Yeah. I repented and was saved after that. So I started to become, embody the fashion and everything of a soca artist after that.
Course.
So they taught me that as well, So everything was a learning experience.
I understand, hell of a university.
Yeah,
that's real history. So those days, like I remember two in particular, Brass and Customs. I mean, they don't get into the heat of the carnival season, and they have bands, them time Square One, all of them coming in, Crossfire, Byron Lee's, everybody.
Yeah, man.
Performing in them spaces, it started to get, it's almost like it was still the era where brass used to go on forever. All morning time, brass still going on.
Oh, yeah.
So how are you so hold out for seasons at that point in time? Because only performing on the road, truck going on the road. And
well, that's part of it. That's part of the life, and you enjoy doing it. It's part of that. Became part of me.
Mm-hmm.
It will be noteworthy to know that in 1997, when I joined Roycape in 96, my final year in Calypso was 97. Because of that rigorous schedule, I had to devote all my time I had to choose. And I chose the soca because it was something new and it was something exciting that I really wanted to do.
Right.
So yeah, it was part of the job and the excitement of meeting all these people and coming up on the stage with them. Your hours change from you're going home sometimes 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you're not looking to go home, or sometimes you're not looking to go on the stage.
Right.
So your whole lifestyle and everything would have been changing. And that was one of the reasons I exited the soca industry.
Right.
For the same reason, for that same schedule and stuff. My daughter, Chocolate Allen, we decided as a family to homeschool her rather than to send her to public schooling.
Right.
And that in itself meant that I had to make a personal sacrifice to be a different type of father, to be a different type of, have a different schedule, different everything. So I gave up everything to focus on homeschooling and developing my daughter's education in a particular way. She's
still singing and things still?
Still singing, same. And it's important to know that for somebody who has never been to school, she's now a teacher in a high school in the United States.
Look at that.
And she's teaching physics and math.
Look at that. People don't say it's a controversial.
And she never went to school.
Nice. When she went to school, she went to school as a university teacher, you know.
And her mom told me, and, you know, both parents were involved in that aspect of education.
Gotcha.
And we got some external help from the late Mr. Elton Nelson, also Miss Phaedra, Dr. Phaedra Pierre, who is also her godmother. She was instrumental in you know, shaping her curriculum and stuff.
Structure and education. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of work, so sometimes I say homeschooling. I got a partner who during COVID, he always used to remind me when on the podcast, he say, stop going there and say homeschool. That's not homeschool. He said he homeschool his kids too.
Right.
But I used to say that when Trent was home during COVID.
I call it home education.
Yeah, yeah.
Because schooling gives you a sense of a uniform, and when you go in a particular, you have to follow certain rules.
Of course.
But home education is wider. You have to do things differently.
I would imagine. So that time, it's answering some questions from me already, because one of the reasons I say Carlos is because you, among a few others, the accuracy that you deliver with on that semi-final and that final night, it hard to match. And you'll find that they have other people who come in the competition on them kind of things and they might struggle to deliver. Sometimes man slip up on lyrics, forget the lyrics, but you seem to be just in a pocket for the whole performance, like 99% of the time. So I always be like, well, you can't lose. Sometimes it doesn't matter where you sing. You can just do it better, but it's just the muscle develop over time.
Over time and the experience. I remember back in the 80s, someone was saying, I wouldn't call the Calypsonians' names for anybody to devalue anything, but they were saying that Marshall Montano had more experience than a big Calypsonian because of his involvement in the art form. Right. The number of places he had performed when he was up to 10 years old. The senior Calypsonian had never even done that amount of shows in his entire lifetime. Yeah. So they were saying that sometimes you don't look at somebody at their age, or you have to look at their level of involvement, or the years, or the quality of their involvement. Of course. And I think I've been involved deeply in the art form, so that is what you're seeing there is a manifestation of not me saying, hey, I could do this, or I could do this. It's just a natural flow of what I experienced began to blossom into fruits of accomplishment now.
Yeah, I appreciate you for saying that, because they have some names could call with that too. Because when they say Marshall, for instance, I was talking to when I had a brother here and talking about 1986. People forget Marshall was in that competition, and he beat a couple of people too. Of course.
I will go on record as saying I saw Marshall Montano's first performance as a junior Calypsonian because I was in the same competition. Right. And it annoyed some of my friends who were in the competition with him, including the defending junior Calypso Monarch, Colonel Applewhite. When I say, nobody can beat that fella, you know. Everybody watch me, but you in the competition, we can say that. It wasn't just saying nobody could beat that fella. I was saying greatness. Right. So I have no problems in always saying when people talking about Marshall was great in my eyes from day one.
I got you.
And he maintained his greatness.
Of course. Great is recognized greatness. It reminds me of a time Jordan was talking, there was an All-Star game. And Jordan in the locker room, bandaging up and thing before the All-Star game. And he telling them, he say, hey, Kobe, nobody can say, you remember that?
Right,
He's like, boy, what happened? He go and kill everybody out here. So the greats is always recognized the greats. So at that time, being a band singer, when did it go from being band singer to composing your own soca to do yourself?
But again, as a member of Roy Cape.
Oh, you're doing it since then?
Yeah, but you're singing soca now. So
right.
then I was
the second stint in Roy Cape
yeah.
is when it started. Gotcha.
And I was never one to sing other people's calypsos or other people's soca.
Oh, you was always
always composing for myself.
Right.
So in 1999, Juice Man came with a song called The Bees.
Right.
That was written by Campbell Rigault. So the first thing, we're gonna sing a man's song, boy. But he played the song. I said, right. Right? It was missing some elements and components that I am as a composer now added to the song, the chorus and the stampede vibes, and brought it into a different zone. And you know that experience in itself was something very special.
Yeah.
Then in the following 2 years later, Sexy Body came from Christopher Morris. As I was a member of Atlantic at the time.
Okay.
And we brought in the producer from Edwin Edwards' producer Nicholas Branca from Barbados to produce a song at Caribbean Song Basin. So those were my two.
Yeah, that explains the feel of the song.
Yeah, man.
God.
You know, because he was responsible for Crossfire, and he said got that same kind of vibe,
same energy.
Yeah. So those two soca hits were collaborative efforts in terms of compose.
Got you. So Bees was a monster.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if people remember now that Stampede and them kind of things. When that's what Bungie and them begging to bring back now.
Yeah, I know.
When I hear them talking about hard fet and things,
that is hard fet. Yeah. And there was a little joke with that because the year before, 1998, Roy Cape was in the finals of the Soca Monarch competition with his song Jammy Mr. Cape.
Oh, he was in
Of course, yeah, man. Because Nigel and Marvin had just left the band.
Right.
And we needed something to bring back some attention. And being myself and Derek Seals, we weren't the attractive ones to say, well, okay, the crowd going to come at you guys now.
Right.
We needed something. And we all went at Roy Cape and say, hey, you going to sing this? Yeah, man. And
that's how the song came about?
That's how the song came about. And Roy Cape went all the way to the finals of the Soca Monarch. Coming off the stage now backstage, I'll call the names. I'll call one name. Although Ronnie McIntosh is one.
Right.
But Tony Prescott in particular, that man Pongwe, he started to laugh. He say, always lead singer and always singing the chorus for Roy Cape. And you know, the getting real kicks because we is the lead singer and Roy Cape now in front of Anthony Monarch. And that registered, boy, you know, because he had a way of watching and laughing and pointing. Say, all right, brother. Derek talked about it. We said, boy, it's true. You know, he's saying this true. Can't let that happen again.
Yeah.
So by the following year, 1999, that's when the Bees came down. I ended up in the finals and I won the competitions. Right. When I saw Tony, he had a name for BMC.
Yeah. Big
Man on Campus. He said, Big Man on Campus, boy. Big Man on Campus. You still call me that often. But that stemmed out of that interaction of not, you know, of singing chorus for Roy in the finals.
Serious.
So the next year, our mindset was different. It's like,
I can imagine. Yeah,
we're going at this.
Hell of a change. I have a memory of that. I have a memory of it. Where in Brass Festival. And you go tell me if this, because sometimes my memories be so murky, but I remember going PSA grounds and I mean, PSA grounds are blurred at that time because his bands, his hits, everybody, them days, Marshall still with ecstatic. You see any monsters in the fit. We as youths coming.
Eddie and Eric, oh God.
You still have Chandelier playing. Ronnie might have been a Chandelier at that point in time.
Burning Flames sometimes used to come in.
Yeah, Burning Flames. I forget this other band who was with at one point joining where I was playing guitar with them and thing too.
Second Image.
One of them was bad. And if I remember right, you at this Roy Cape still, right, with Bees?
Yes.
And I remember they lock off Brass because that time it started to change from when Brass used to go till morning until it started to put time.
Correct is right.
And it was trouble getting bands over stage too.
Correct is right.
Yeah. And if I remember Bees, I remember Fed done. And they tell we had to come out of PSA and head into the gate.
You remember that?
I was there.
What?
And you run on stage. Yeah. I don't know what has happened.
Yeah.
We just hear Stampede. You say, a little thing come on before.
Yes.
And boy, when that Stampede, men run back from outside PSA and run back by that stage. What just happened? The Fed, the
Fed was locked off. So they tell us that we were already on stage setting up and they tell us, well, we can't go on. So we said, no, we on stage already. We said, we gotta do at least 10 minutes.
Right.
So we just start up. We cut the set. What we normally would start with an intro and all that kind of stuff. We said, the hell with that. Just start up. And I brought Super Blue on the stage as well with me that night.
Nice.
Because Super was the defending Soca Monarch. And I know coming up against Super, he was playing a little head game as well too. Super come on stage and hugging you up and trying to soften you, because he's Super.
Then looking to destroy you.
Right? But that is good thing for me because he is Super Blue. And Super Blue hugging me up and giving me that kind of respect, So he go in, but I know in his mind, he testing out certain things. He testing to see how he can defeat this man because he know, well, okay, there's the song probably he has to look at. Because he's that smart. And we perform on stage together, and that night, I looked at him too. I said, all right, I come at you too, because you're Super. Of course, the respect was always there in terms of that is Super Blue.
Yeah.
So you can't go in and take anything for granted. Then you had Sinel with River, who everybody was saying was going to take everything. So, it took a lot from us in terms of planning. We had a lot of planning. We brought those bees balloons.
Right.
Ian Small brought it from New York for us.
Right.
And Roy Cape, the machine to pump up this is serious, huh? The machine to pump up the air in the balloons.
Right.
That was malfunction, and Roy Cape blow those things, some of them. I'm telling you, start to blow and blow up some of those balloons because that's how serious he took it as well.
Of course.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
so that when we went on that stage, it was Kurt Allen didn't win the Soca Monarch. Roy Cape and the All-Stars featuring Kurt Allen is who won that Soca Monarch.
Yeah.
Because it took everybody's collective energy to pull off the performance.
Yeah, glad you remind me of that too, because Sinel Dempster, that river was, I remember being down in, it wasn't Mecca at the time, it could be Spectrum at the time.
Spectrum.
But that's when I realized because that song was so cute.
Yeah.
But they used to wear down Sinel Dempster every night.
Well, Ronnie was in charge of that wedding too. Ronnie bring a big set of sprinklers in PSA. Ronnie was really active in terms of pushing pushing Sinel and Blue Ventures with that song, He was the backbone at that point because he was the lead singer of the band.
Got you.
And he was, as he's a former 2-time Soca Monarch,
of course,
he knew exactly what has to be done.
He know how to do it.
Right, so we were coming up against that as well.
Of course.
So when Sinel went on before me and we backstage, boy, and we looking at when it's time to go and you seen rain actually falling like it's rain. You say, go on this girl's side. Right, you feel like you're dropping your shoulders. How the hell that can happen?
Yeah.
There's Ronnie and some sprinklers out there. Ronnie. Yeah, man. But it looked real, it looked real and it was effective.
I remember her complaining that year that she takes too much wet before the season done.
Yeah. She can hide from that.
Yeah. So leading up in Brass that week before Carnival, you have a shot in
I know I have a shot.
Night.
I know I have a shot, but the critics didn't think I had a shot.
No.
Deceased again, Alexis, who was working with the Punch newspaper at the time, he did a list of 22 people. And my name nowhere inside there. The first 22, he counted out first, second, third, and come down. And Kurt Allen name nowhere inside of there. Roy Kip kicked some brass for that because you find that was, being kind of biased. Yeah, man, because he's seeing the impact that we have in the feds and stuff. So all those things is what probably helped us to go a little harder,
Yeah.
From some saying that I'm causing the feds to mash up and call it a bandy song. So all those things is discussions in the band room. And the more that they discuss us and the more they try to keep us down, is the more we become resilient and say we go in.
Of course.
And that's why I said it was a collective victory.
I'm with you.
That support was all around.
I remember them things when man was saying band because we come into mash up fest. We come into hear that, right?
Yeah.
And the only time I've ever seen that since is Mr. Killer when he sing Pick Up Something.
I had seen it before. Toro, Chad.
Oh, yeah, well, that was
that's where it started.
Oh my God.
Toro, Chad.
The
year before.
Yeah, boy. That was
when you hear Toro, that is bacchanal in the fat.
Yeah, boy.
Ronnie didn't have to tell you to do that. Already he had to say, bring the tent and come. Yeah, bring the tent and climb the tree, the climbing palm tree. He just had to give the instruction.
Yeah, I don't know what he had with people. I don't know what Super used to do a lot on stage.
Yes.
Ronnie used to make people do different things. Yeah. Ronnie used to make people move,
I was there, had the engineer set up with the tents under them.
The whole tent
Ronnie said, bring the tent and come.
Yeah.
Pick up the tent.
He said, carry it back.
Yeah. At least he was responsible to say, carry it back.
Yeah, it was a special time. So how long was that after Bees? You was with Roy Cape still for a while, or you still in the band?
For 1 year. And that's when I made the decision, as I said, to go full homeschool. And I formed an organization called Caribbean Vision,
right?
Which is an organization that was formed to lobby for cultural and economic cooperation between Caribbean people and their governments. And we launched the organization at Cricket, West Indies Cricket. And our patrons became the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines, who is still the Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, Dr. Kenny Anthony, Prime Minister, who was Prime Minister of St. Kitts, together with his deputy, Mario Michel, who was very instrumental in us really making some inroads. Dr. Timothy Harris, who is now, I guess opposition leader, but he was previously Prime Minister of St. Kitts.
Right.
He was a patron as well. They're all members of the organization Caribbean Vision. Dame Paulette Louisi, the Governor General of St. Lucia, is also a member of the organization.
Right.
And from there, we got the endorsement from the CARICOM heads of government, and we actually took a tour for 7 years throughout the Caribbean without returning to Trinidad.
Right.
And that we had a member from every Caribbean island as a member of the organization, and we had a theatric presentation called Educulture, where we were encouraging youth to stay in school, discouraging them from deviant behavior, promoting CSME for the CARICOM Secretariat, and we got funding from USAID, UNAIDS, the Commonwealth Secretariat, heads of government, ministries of education, culture throughout the region.
Right.
And we lived together as a family and taught for more than 7 years.
All right.
And then the last 3 years, it would have been 10, but the last 3 years was spent in Jamaica.
Right.
With another component of that same tour, sponsored by then Prime Minister Bruce Goldens, but was sanctioned before by Portia Simpson, who was the Prime Minister at the time before the government changed.
This is so.
This is 2007.
Serious?
The current Prime Minister, Mr. Holness, he was then the Minister of Education.
I used to live in Jamaica at that time.
Well, right, you see? Yeah. So we were under his ministry at the time, and we stayed there. We were invited, the second stint in Jamaica, we were invited by Rita Marley and the Bob Marley Foundation for my daughter to do the feature speak at the UNIA, that's Marcus Garvey, at his institute, and she presented the feature speech there.
Nice.
We spent 3 months living with the Marleys, working with the Marleys. And then when we were about to leave, Dr. Holness asked us to stay on to continue the Educulture tour. And that's when we linked up with Tony Rebel and Flames recording with Queen Africa. Yeah. My daughter was signed to Flames.
Serious?
Yeah, she was signed to Flames. And basically we lived in the same compound and everything, in the studio and everything.
What's that like, boy?
Years it was like, it was different to me because I'm a Calypsonian coming from a Soca Calypso background. And to be in the center and heart, not just it being in Jamaica, but you're in the center and the pulse of the reggae movement. We mentioned in Rita Marley and Tony Rebel. Cool. And Tony Flames recording was, as you know, the Rebel Salute.
Right.
So my daughter performed 3 years at Rebel Salute.
Really?
Yeah, man. The same year that Virgo, he had won the Rising Stars. So they did a duet between Chocolate and him to release one of his first songs. Wow. But because of our plans and homeschool ideas for Chocolate, we couldn't go ahead with it because it would have entailed touring and leading a different type of life, right? So that we kind of backpedaled on that. But that was the same. It was the same opportunities at the same time.
Yeah, I keep
so she did a song.
Something about you.
She eventually did a song with Queen Africa. Recorded, they recorded a song called Friends.
Right.
And then she made a conscious decision that she did not want to pursue the road of entertainment as a profession. She had interest in other things. And so we eased up with her being pushed as a performer.
Of course. Yeah, interesting.
So she still performs, but she's not putting that to the forefront of her being.
Yeah, she put the choice. Yeah, she decided when she did.
Yeah, she has other options.
Yeah, the homeschooling workout, boy.
Oh yeah, man, it totally did. Totally did.
It make the right choice. Yeah. That's a hell of a time because Queen Africa, 2007, mate, she red hot at that
red hot. That's that. Yeah. Daddy Don't Touch Me. There, we were there. We were in the studio.
Serious?
Yeah, man. We were in the studio when that song was recorded. We were there, present.
Oh,
yeah.
Is this why?
I was sitting down, as I told you, I was sitting down on the step of the recording studio, and Tony's office is upstairs. So I was sitting down on the step, not knowing that Tony was there.
Right.
And I had the guitar, and I singing away, man. I was singing a song called Last Bastions of Calypso. I was singing that one in particular.
Right.
And then I went in to Too Bright, but I was just working on it. Tony heard me from the office. He had no idea that I was a singer. As far as he's concerned, I am Chocolate's father.
Right.
When he heard me singing, he come out, he said, "But man, you're a sing." And he said, you should start singing. He tell me, come in the studio, I tell him I like not no reggae thing. I just sing Calypso, and then he got a little history. And he told me, man, you have a natural calling. He said, what I'm hearing here is a natural calling. You need to go back home and fulfill your destiny. Of course, I was probably I said, nah, man. He said, no, he got serious. Until he went to my wife. And he told her he's going to buy a ticket for me to go home. Don't tell me nothing yet.
Right.
He has to go back home for carnival season. Short pants. I came back home for the carnival season.
Right.
Won the crown. When I was heading back in the airport, Short Pants saw me in the airport. That same night, Sunday night, after the competition, I went from the stage straight to the airport.
Back
Short
to
Pants said, where you going?
Yeah.
What you doing here? You know when you go, where you going? Right? I said, nah, I explained to him what happened.
Right.
And I went back to Jamaica to fulfill the last 3 months. And then came back here from then to now. I've been based here. I've moved on.
So the organization that you formed is still...
It's still
active?
very much vibrant and active. We did, we were responsible for what you call CARICOM Day celebrations on July the 4th.
Right.
We were based in Guyana at the time. We lived in Guyana for 2 years. So my organization was responsible for staging the CARICOM Day activity in Guyana.
Right.
CARIFESTA also did a special show in 2014. CARIFESTA was held in Suriname. But what they found is that a lot of the countries were sending their cultural artists, but they weren't sending the ones who really out there, who know, you know, the noted artists with a reputation. They were sending people that nobody knew.
Yeah.
So what they did, they formed a special show to cater for those artists who were like Dwayne Stevenson. I brought Dwayne Stevenson. I brought Kevin Little, and even the guy who many artists from all over the Caribbean to perform at a special showcase. And I brought in A&R representatives from Europe, from United States. I was in charge of producing that show for the CARICOM Secretariat.
Wow.
It was about 5 events within CARIFESTA. So that's one of the last things we did. We presented. The heads of government had a meeting, and they wanted us to take the outcome of that meeting and put it in a theatrical presentation. We also did that in Suriname the year before.
Wow.
So we've been doing a lot of stuff, especially with hiring artists. We have hired so many artists, including Christopher Martin.
Yeah,
he represented Jamaica. Arturo Tappan.
Yeah,
he represented Barbados. Boo Hinkson, Ronald Boo Hinkson. We brought him to represent St. Lucia as well.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, we formed a band out of our experience called the Windies Band. Curtly Ambrose was the bass player and singer in that band. We came and we performed when Brian Lara had broken the record. We performed at the Prime Minister's residence, Prime Minister Manning. And that band consists of people like Onion from Burning Flames, Wookie, and the Armstrong Spare One. Claudette Peters, she was not yet a Soca Monarch. She has since went on to win 5 or 6 Soca Monarch titles. Bill Rogers, who is the only chutney, they said the only African who has won the both chutney and Calypso Monarch competition in Guyana. All these people were part of the band. Madzat, who is the current Calypso Monarch of St. Vincent, he was part of the band. So it was a super band together, you know, with members of Roy Kip also, as Roy Kip also played in the band in St. Vincent. Of course. We played for when Grenada had the Hurricane Ivan had this. We did some benefit concerts.
Gotcha.
So we brought in Roy Cape and Jusman to complement the band as well with other top musicians from around the region, and that was done for 3 years straight.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Played at the St. Kitts Music Festival, the Windies Band.
Yeah, Curtly Ambrose. I just happened to bounce up some on YouTube the other day. And
you saw him singing?
Yeah.
He started that with us, man.
Singing and he playing. And the guy look behind him is Richie Richards.
Right,
yes. What the hell is going on?
Richie couldn't make the gig, but Richie was part of the band too, but he couldn't come to based on his schedule.
No, he couldn't make it. Yeah.
So those are the things that I've done outside of being a Calypsonian. As a creative director of Caribbean Vision, those are the things that we produce.
I'm with you. So it's not just grill, it's not just talk, you're active in mix. So you bring us back to Two Bright. This would be your first time entering the Calypso Monarch at that point in time, or you were entering since before?
I was a finalist in the Calypso Monarch in 94,
since as early as that?
97, and semi-finalist from the first time I entered in 91. I've always been a semi-finalist to now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I've been around.
Yeah, you always in the competition.
And then I composed for Denise Plummer when she won the competition. I composed for Johnny Williams to the St. Lucia.
Which song was for Denise Plummer? That was
not Dinah Leaving. Everybody.
That was Christopher
Heroes. Heroes. That Heroes won the best social commentary competition that year. She had the best social commentary with that song.
Yeah, powerful song.
Yeah,
powerful song. Like when you listen to.
composed for other people, won the Young Kings, and who
Right.
was in the finals and stuff.
Mhm.
Not just in Trinidad, as I say, in Dominica,
Of course,
and
yeah.
Antigua.
Yeah, when you have the Caribbean,
Yeah.
throughout. So what,
Because of Caribbean Vision.
of course, yeah, the
In my tour,
connections.
I met with these people, and
Yeah.
that was part of it.
Like before we started recording, I was telling you as I listen to these songs, we're starting with Too Bright. I keep listening to it and I say, but they have a reggae feel to these songs.
Yeah, you're gonna find that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No understanding where something.
I had a rebirth in Jamaica in terms as a composer.
Right.
Yeah, if you look at my work previously, yes, I was composing in a certain style.
Right.
But Jamaica
Changes.
Jamaica is one of the most creative places or creative spaces you could find, for an artist. I guess that's why you have that kind of conscious capital coming out of Jamaica in that
For sure. I'd spent a little time in is it Edna Manley School? Is that
yes,
music school?
That music school.
I used to go there to play guitar.
Yeah.
And it was so, boy, listen, I mean, it gets
to
that Calypso strum. When they try to change that,
Yeah.
But when you walk into the school, you feel that sense of talent.
Yeah,
I mean, apparently that is the closest comparison to it when you see so much
Yeah.
young people so talented, boy.
And that gave me a greater appreciation for our musicians too, because in Jamaica, you get in the reggae strum, but they cannot give you that Calypso strum.
No,
they can't give it to you. But in Trinidad, no. Trinidad musicians, they're giving you anything.
The chord structure, the patterns, the strum there, Trinidad musician is switched.
Something is a different story altogether.
So when you're going with Too Bright, you're sure? You know you're going to win, you had them, or what was you thinking when you're going in?
I knew that I was singing again. It could be taken as an anti-PNM song because nobody was singing anything in terms of that type of political commentary. So I know that I was coming in an environment where people will watch your song and you could get some cuffs and clouts. But the message,
right?
I couldn't deny the message. It wasn't coming from Kurt Allen per se. It was what I felt and picked up. So I had to do it. So it wasn't a case where I know I was going to win. I know I was going to do well because I sang in Crocro's tent that year. Right. He allowed me to be a guest artist in the tent basically. And from the feedback from the audience and stuff, you know that it's going to be a good song. But winning, no. I think for me, the presentation of the song is what kind of tipped the scale for me because that was the first night I was doing the presentation of it. All the time I'm singing it normal. But when I was on stage and I actually saw myself and I felt that energy off of the presentation, the imagery and everything. When I came off the stage, I said, aha, I feel you have it, Yeah, it's a feeling. Sometimes you just get that feeling with other people too. Like all the other years, we won't call names again, but when certain people won and they stand up backstage, when they finish perform, they say, boy, they get the magic. They touch the spot. That is the winning song. That is the winning performance. So said, so done. So you never could go into a competition saying, I win. Or, I'm going to win this. Is at the night when you come off at that stage, you have a sense of, yes, I did my best here and it feel good.
Right.
And if it feel good to you, chances are you did well.
Got you.
Yeah.
So you stay here, you hang around to hear the results and thing you were there when they announced it?
That year, I didn't hang around, They called me. I was already by Maritime.
Right.
Heading home. And I got a call that Kurt, you win. You had to come back here. Where are you? Where is
Man looking for you backstage.
Yeah. I tell them, well, I'm not here right now. I say, why are you talking about? Come here. Blah, blah, blah. Shoma. I will call her name Shoma is the one who called me. She was the PRO of Tuku at the time. And she called me and told me. And she started buff me up.
You was trying to run from this competition because you leave to go home, you leave to go back to Jamaica.
I didn't even head in the airport. I go in home, I have a couple hours before I head in the airport. So that was my intention. This year, the same thing. Unfortunately, it was said that when they called me for my prize, I wasn't there either. I had an emergency, so I left. And the unfortunate thing about it is that my trophy remained on stage. And one of the officials of a certain organization said, let's stay there under the cleaners, go with it. We ain't care about that. We ain't picking it up.
Because you're not there?
No, because of the song that I sang. I know what I'm saying. That's the kind of nonsense that happens, right? So that you leave my trophy on the stage, as far as somebody told me, cleaners, well, everybody go on and the trophy remain on the stage and they would not take it up.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was called about the prize giving, which is happening right now.
Yeah.
And they asked me to bring my trophy and I had to tell them I don't have the trophy because somebody decided to leave it on the stage.
That's crazy.
And what motivated them is probably the same reason that I came second.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Mhm.
That is unfortunate. And you see, the thing about it is, I feel like that's why I keep going back to the line, "Griot obligation." That line stand out in that song. Eh?
Because that's what I meant.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
This is
And
my Gree obligation, not Kurt Allen obligation.
well, think of it like this: when you do a song like "Too Bright," for people who might know the song, the crux of the song is basically the people in charge too bright, right?
Yeah,
you want a Woodford Square,
Yeah.
They'll graduate from
a
nowhere
layman,
else.
somebody who understands the roots of the people, our concerns, you know, the ground report in terms of like really reporting from the ground.
You know how relevant that song is now? Like the last election we went, the biggest complaint about the party that was voted out was that.
Yeah, exactly.
So the song's so relevant.
Exactly.
A judge should never come between. Like I was talking to Mr. Shaq here, and Shaq say he don't watch them judges. He don't watch his scorecard. I was confused. I was like, well, why? Because I want to see Mr. Shaq win one. But he said, it's similar to what you're saying. He said, my responsibility is to the written song and to who I talking to. He says, so if the judges can't come between that for me to stymie what I doing, which makes sense. But when you release a song like that, you put it out there, and soon after that, a snap election call, and the electorate responds the way they did then. It tells you that there was a voice of the people. It was not Kurt Allen. It says what it is.
Same thing this year.
Yeah.
Right after the song was out, the election was called, and the same result. Same result. You know, so and it's important to note that those were the only 2 times that I really sang songs of that vein actually coming at somebody direct like that. Direct. You know, and the results showed.
But the thing is, like, one of the things you talk to younger people about Calypso. And I want to ask you about that too in terms of the amount of young people in the competition now. But apart of where they find, you hear it all the time, the art form dying, the thing, A part of it is the wailing and lamentations and the litany of woes that has come on a finals night where it's just about crying and how hard the country is. So I feel like it's an art to make a song still entertaining, which is what we know Calypso to be. Entertaining, it's informative, it's provocative. So even though you might say, it went directly at the person. But Too Bright is is cleverly written. It's almost double entendre and cleverly written and delivered. So,
and again, that probably came as a result to where once it's a one song competition, you have to try and put everything into that one song to try and make that song a complete entity. Probably if it's a 2-song competition, you have a next opportunity now to be a little lighter, to come with a different issue altogether that is not as heavy.
Right.
But since they brought it down to the one song, you find that everybody concentrating on commentary, political or social, because they want to get that message across. They believe that is the blueprint to win a title.
Yeah, social, political commentary, maybe nation building. Punto final. You don't get much other kind of songs.
Remember in the year that Coco sang Nobody should go
Nobody ain't gonna know.
Right. And he won the crown with it.
So what do you mean?
Which was
careless.
Yeah, which had nothing to do with politics and this kind of thing. You know?
I remember I didn't know the song at all. And I was as a Trinidad, you're from here. Calypso Fiesta on every TV in the house, how this go. And I hear the pa 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 pa. So it reminds me of our old song. A man saying, "My father's name is Low, my name is Low." See, you remember it?
Correct.
So that catch my attention one time.
Good attention.
And when I hear the first verse of that song, I said, "What the hell this man do here?"
You flip the script.
It was something, especially in the context of what was happening with the rest of the competition. Bad. And every verse, I always watch it back on YouTube now. And every verse, the reaction from the crowd get bigger.
Yes.
But the truth is that is, for me, still very, very similar to Too Right, because all you're doing is tapping into something that we already feel.
Exactly.
Because Trinidadian, I talk to my sister about this all the time. She in DC. When you see her at a travel, it's better you don't tell. It's better you don't say nothing. Because somebody has sweet bread, and that man call everything in that song.
Yeah.
I don't know how you remember to sing that song. I don't know how you can remember the lyrics.
Probably personal experience, because he travels a lot, So you remember it offhand.
He say he feels inside of the plane as a shell.
Real.
Bad. So what's your feeling when you get a call and you find out you win after all them years and
it was a special feeling. I've been in winner's row before in terms of winning the Young Kings, winning Soca Monarch. But when I started off to sing Calypso, that was my goal, to be Calypso Monarch. Right. It didn't have a Soca Monarch. It didn't have a Young King when I just started. So the aim was not to be a Young King, but the aim was to be a Soca Monarch. As a matter of fact, a Calypso Monarch at that time was representative of everything.
Right.
Because you had the Calypso Monarchs were the winners of the road march competitions the same way. You know, whether it's David Rudder who won the road march and Calypso Monarch. You had people like Sparrow and Kitchener who was winning Calypso Monarchs and road march. So to win the Calypso Monarch title, that was the crowning moment for me in terms of what it represented and what I saw it representing within the art form. Yeah, it was like, yes, good.
Yeah, validation.
Yeah, from Junior Monarch to Calypso Monarch. And, you know, thank Mr. John Philip deceased for making sure and helping me to develop my writing ability. I mean, all the other students who were part of that experience, they never followed up with the writing, the composing part. So they were into singing and, I want a song, I'll get a song. He made sure that I kept my fire burning as a composer and was giving me all the encouragement in that area for me to be who I am as a composer today, else that would not have been possible.
Yeah. Well, congrats on that. You're joining elite company. Shadow was the only other person before to win both. Calypso Monarch and Soca Monarch.
Right.
Yeah, and only one man after.
Yeah, Marshall. Yeah.
It could be hard for anybody to accomplish that now. It's no more Soca Monarch, so all you had to do
right. True. That's it.
Only the Trinity is over. It's over. Yeah. Something else. I had to go to, again, one of my favorite songs you put together, where I say you turn the spotlight on we. Because that first investigation, again, you kind of lost in my mind, right? You understand? When I hear that song, not saying that the year didn't have real good songs, because that might be one of the best years for Calypso Monarch we've seen in a long time. I was shocked by the results. Where come that year? 5th?
No, man, 8th, man.
8th?
Yeah.
Shocked.
Yeah.
Because Marshall was going to win, right? I can say it, right? Marshall was going to win. Corie was real good that year. Chucky was good. You know what I mean? It's not like I could take anything away from anybody, but when I hear 8, I was shocked. You feeling that way then, or you're going in there thinking you have a chance to win?
Yeah, going in there thinking that you have a chance to win based on the results from the prelim semifinals and the interaction from the people about the song.
What was the results for the first 2 rounds? You were up there?
I know I was up there. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I was up there. Yeah. Like this year, I was first in the preliminaries this year. So you know that, okay, you have a nice chance to make the finals. So you're going in there with that in mind, and you're going to deliver to make sure.
Of course. Yeah, to just follow through.
And I came 9th in the semifinals, so barely made it to the finals.
Yeah, coming back to that, because that was weird to me. I don't know how you go from 1st to 9th, because I see the performance and me see nothing, like there was something went wrong.
We don't like to say it, but me being who I am as not outspoken Calypsoian.
True.
But when I say something, I don't say it from an emotional point of view. Politics was involved. And I'm saying this with evidence to support it. It may not be evidence that is admissible in court, or I may not go that direction. But in my heart, and the people who know what they did, you all know, and I'm letting you know, I know too. So we even...
Yeah, that's unfortunate for me, but just as a lover of the thing. Again, the song Investigation. You might say that somebody's singing about politics or they're singing about this leader or that leader, but you kind of turn that song onto the parent.
Yeah. It was based on personal experience. The core of it, right, is that even now, a lot of parents teach their children to be fearful of police officers. So if they do something wrong, I will call the police and the police will come and lock you up. Right? That's what I tell them.
It's true.
So when they see police passing, they already have this thing already, right?
Right.
I always told my daughter or anybody around me, you don't have to fear the police. That is not your problem. I am your problem. You have to worry what I think. No, seriously. Yeah, it's what I think. The police ain't going to do you nothing.
Of course.
It's me. You here with me. You have to worry what I will do. You have to worry how I will react when you do your foolishness. I ain't putting that responsibility on no influencer or nobody who come in to sing a song and no. It's me you have to deal with.
Yeah.
So it starts there. It starts home. The first investigation starts with parenting. And if you can't get that right there, then don't bother for no investigation. It's too late for investigation when they have bloodstain on the hand. You call it investigation, police make it. No. That investigation starts here. You have to watch me in my eye and know I am the one dealing with you if you choose to misbehave.
Yeah.
That is your greatest fear. The police ain't going to do you nothing that I could do. Trust me.
It might be one of the biggest changes we see in society, where the parent is no longer holding that kind of authority.
Yeah, man.
They
give it up.
Yeah, of course.
And to be frank, some of the parents need parenting. They really don't know, because they grew up in a time where A lot of the things they experience, they tell themselves, when I have my child, that can happen. Sometimes they talk about a community to raise a child and elders. Sometimes elders wicked to your children, right? Wicked. They tell them, they're doing them wickedness, they're telling them all kind of things. You want the child till they respect them. So they're saying, when I get my child, no elders can tell my child nothing now because look how he does move. So that is what you're getting now. So you can't blame them either. They need guidance as much. So when you talk about parents, look at what the parents, when you talk about parents, it's 19-year-olds, 20-something-year-olds is the parents. You thinking in your mind is some 50-something-year-old? No.
People who lost themselves.
Exactly. So it's a whole, the approach is a holistic approach.
Yeah, of course.
That you have to use. So it's the first investigation.
Yeah, and it seemed to be, I like this song a lot in terms of the sentiment behind it because I saw it as a response to the "Oh, it's wicked," them videos. Yeah. It's almost like somebody make a post on Facebook about this "Oh, it's wicked."
Yeah.
And somewhere along the way in society, we start to, everybody else was the issue. Except the parents. It started being a school teacher. This is from late 90s.
Yeah.
The teacher's not doing nothing. And then all of a sudden it starts to become now the church. Now the religion's nothing. And when I was small, the religion was this and then it started to be the government. This mystic government that people like to talk about.
Exactly.
As if you know with the child every day.
Exactly. And then they tell you community to raise a child.
Yeah.
But when you
of course.
But that may have been so in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, when a community was made up of family members or people who have the same vision, the same philosophy or ideology in religion or politics. Now a community is a man from So come to live here. A next one from So come to live here. He's a Buddhist. He's a Christian. He's a Muslim. And you find all that in a community. How the community raising your child?
And we don't know each other.
Exactly. You don't want to touch your child.
Yeah, of course.
So if you talk about community raising a child, the first thing you have to do is establish your communities. If you don't have communities, you have people living together in an area, but that doesn't make it a community. A community is something different.
Yeah.
So we have no communities. So you cannot tell me about community raising your child.
So the parents is just hiding from the responsibility.
It's their responsibility. That is where the community is in that household. That is where it starts. Mommy, daddy, uncle, aunt, sister, brother, grandparents, whoever it made up of, that is the community. And if you don't do your investigation there and you wait for them to come out the road or to go to school where they're being influenced by others, nah, man. No ways.
Yeah.
You have people that you wouldn't deal with. Because hey, see that man? We ain't going to deal with you. But when you send your child out to school, have to deal with that man's children who come with that same mindset. You're putting them in problems. You have to know how to deal with that too. And there is nothing set up to deal with those things. It's just this generic thing about community raising a child and nonsense.
Or government and police.
Police
somebody else. Yeah, of course.
Sometimes the police doing the job.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why the term "too late" to me was so powerful. Too late meant so many things to me when I hear this song because you lost control of your child. It works no way and you're waking up late. These are things that you just say, I remember they used to tell me all the time. You're working no place, you're sleeping late and it's all. Get up and do something,
That's a sign. That's right. There's time to investigate. That is the time to investigate.
Because I think especially during when COVID all of we get to stop and watch the situation a little bit. You're seeing a lot of that at the point in time where people want whether it's a second autopsy, they want a next investigation, they get in their own thing, and that is a hell of a song, boy. So how come it, boy?
Well, again, I have my suspicions, but that might be coming from my emotional point of view, so I keep away from emotional findings.
Yeah. I think it was one of the...
Apart from all that emotional, the one this year,
right?
Well, not the emotional finding.
You say no.
I know. I know.
And you want them to know that you know.
Yeah, but they know I know now. They know I know.
Okay, good.
But because of who I am, it cannot affect me. Because I know who I am and I know my responsibility. My responsibility is not to y'all and no competition. My responsibility is to the people.
Of course.
And y'all can't prevent that. Y'all have been trying so much time. And when they have this thing about who is they. Man, I ain't gonna point no day, know the self, night, know the self. Day and night. Right? And I know who you are. Don't feel like I don't know because I'm not saying or not behaving in a particular way. You're not gonna find me being emotional and burning down the house to kill the mosquito.
Of course.
Right? But because Calypso is about discipline and about exercising the art of restraint. So hence the reason instead of cussing somebody, we'll say puck. Don't puck around. Instead of going direct, because we understand that is what Calypso represents.
Right.
To color it and shape it to make it palatable.
Right.
So don't feel because I'm not coming at y'all in the way that y'all expect is that I don't know. please just, do what you have to do, and I will continue to do what I have to do.
That's what I want to ask you. This ain't going to stop you from entering competition.
No. Once you put yourself, the only way that, once you put yourself open for a competition, then you give up all rights.
Okay.
You have to leave yourself in the hands of the judges, and whatever they decide, decide.
Mm-hmm.
The day that I remove myself from the competition, then I might be able to speak a little clearer and to say things the way that I want to say it, because I'm no longer part of that cycle. Right? And I sang a song in 1997 called Pass the Ball.
Mm-hmm.
And very soon that is what I intend to do in terms of competitions and stuff, to pass that ball so that I will be able to comment and do other things to help Calypso without that umbrella or that shadow of he vexed because he didn't win, or he vexed because it had nothing to do with vex, and it have to do with the art form.
Right.
There are certain things that I want to see for the art form. There are certain Calypsonians who come and put things in my head. They ain't see what they're doing. They ain't doing this, they ain't doing that. The organization that. I understand all that, but it must be done strategically. We must engage the right people, have the right conversations for the art form to grow. You can't keep pulling down somebody because you don't like him. You pull him down because he's the president or he's the this and that. No. Let's do it in the right way.
Yeah, well, I guess your history and your experience with activism, you know how to move and shake and make them things happen.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So you feel like you will still compete at that time, or that's something you're looking at helping others and moving away?
I need to move away from the competition, yeah, because Black Stalin had said something. Where is that he doesn't want to compete? He doesn't feel comfortable putting his hat, a metaphor, putting your hand in the same hat as Kurt Allen. He didn't feel comfortable with that, As far as he's concerned, I know you as a junior, as a child. Now I come in put my hand in the same hat to pick a number to compete against you. I don't feel comfortable. Even up to now, there are some artists who in the finals, I don't feel comfortable competing against them. I've seen them as juniors. I'm supposed to be out of that as far as you're concerned. But the economic side of it, this is what provides not just the platform, but it provides an economic window that the Calypsonian, without that, there is nothing for the Calypsonian. So that is probably one of the reasons a lot of them, or a lot of us, still there. But I don't have patience with that much longer.
Yeah.
There are other things that needs to be done other than competition. And, it's come like you grow out of primary school, keep putting on these school uniform, primary school uniform, going to school to say, I used to go to school here, and I used to go to school. Look, miss. Yeah, it's at that time you move on. You might go to a university, which is a different school, but then the time you come out to lecture in that university and not to be part of that competition aspect in that way.
Yeah, you could do it differently.
And my time is winding down for that.
Man, it's sad, but I support regardless, because I think in terms of your contribution, like you even hear people talking about it in business, where for the last 20 years, the same boards, the same people are the heads of boards for years.
That's what's happening now.
That's what happening now. But and I feel like if it's not so much, it's not to discard people. I had sister on here, and she was talking about that. It was interesting, her perspective on it, where sometimes you see older people or the foundation people, and you want to discard them. Is a thing that we have sometimes. Maybe it's not to move you away, but you just do it differently, which is what you say, contribute in a different way.
Yeah.
So how's your feeling on the last few years where you're seeing several artists who... Well, let me start with Marshall, because Marshall had stepped away from competition for a long, long time. All forms of competition, and then came back into Calypso Monarch at the point in time. As people are doing it every year, your feeling is that he's stepping into all your domain, you welcome it. What was your thoughts there?
No, that is not all the domain. That is his domain to people, as I said. Junior Calypso Monarch. When you are a junior Calypso Monarch, the next step of that is to become or dream of becoming a Calypso Monarch. So after he has accomplished all this in life, he sit down and say, boy, I want to be a Calypso Monarch. I hadn't win that title. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with somebody pursuing the ambition to win the Calypso Monarch, and then they say, you know what? I want to win the chutney so that I will go down in history as the person who has won all these competitions. I don't see anything wrong with that, because in the United States, you have people breaking records and becoming the first to do this, and nobody can touch this record in 1,000 years. And if that is his personal ambition, then who am I or anybody to want to put their foot in the way of that or condemn it? No. He is free to do that. And he has the ability to do it, and he has done it.
He's come from that.
And he is Marshall Montano. There's some, we have to respect. He might be so accessible to us, and but there is no other than him, no other like him. You will never find an next Marshall Montano. You'll never find an next Brigo. You'll never find an next Stalin. You'll never find an next Shadow. These are, and many others, because they have made themselves into legends. And he is one. I am not going to disrespect that.
But when you hear he coming in competition, you're looking to beat him.
Well, once you come in the competition, you're going at him. He placed himself inside there.
Of course.
Okay, he won last year, but look what happened this year.
Yeah.
No fear about that. And again, as I mentioned before, as a soca artist, sometimes you have to come behind Marshall with Music Farm and all these hits. You have to come behind Ronnie McIntosh. And you say, no, you don't have a hit song, but when you go on that stage, you have to make the people dance. And we conquered that. We came after them with no hit songs and did it. So that confidence song, that etched in your mind, that memory. There was nothing, nobody you fear in competition. I mean, I defeated Super Blue. I was in the competition. Bunchy was in the competition. So why should I be scared?
That when Soca Monarch was Soca Monarch.
So why would I be fearful of Marshall or anybody coming into a competition?
Right.
You must respect what they bring to the competition. And the fact remains, because of his involvement in the competition, it brought a renewed interest in people, not just in Trinidad, but all over the world, paying attention again to the Calypso Monarch competition.
Right.
Even this year, to see, even if it's to see what he will come, they're still seeing you in the process. They're still hearing about you in the process.
Yeah.
So I will think that his participation elevated the competition.
Yeah, I would say so. I think this year he had a chance. I don't think the song was lyrically strong enough. It was
I don't think that he really I'll be honest with you, I don't think he really came out to compete for that crown. He did what he had to do last year, and he came to enjoy himself.
But you know, it's funny.
I
respect him more this year because of what you said. Because I agree with that. I saw the show he put on Skinner Park last year, and then in the final, and I say, but I see that, I was saying, all right, they ain't gonna beat it. I say, I know. And that's telling you for me. If I go in back this year and I know, okay, I won and I have to defend and I respect, I come in and like Gypsy.
I know.
Remember when Gypsy sing Mother Can't? Gypsy walk on the stage, he never dance, I would do that. So when the fact that he went all out again, probably himself knowing that is not a winning song.
He went all out because he's a professional artist and he knows he has to deliver something to his best of his ability. But if he had, I believe so, if his strategy, he would have had a different song specifically for the Calypso Monarch competition.
I think so. Yeah, but that you have to respect that he went to his standard, regardless. You have to respect that. So with the youths coming in now, where I would have seen Michael Teja, several of them, particularly Young Brother this year, who was Skinner Park is one of the more impressive things I've seen with them, because the more I talk to people like yourself, people talk about Skinner Park and how difficult it could be. Even your experience this year. And I guess there's a renewed interest now because young people waiting to see. As far as I'm concerned, he win.
Yeah.
But when I see him, the way he walk out to the edge of that stage and deliver that song now and just
like a true professional, like somebody who has been there.
Yeah, I mean, like he wasn't alive before.
Yeah. The vocal treatment. How he sang it,
of course,
and how he executed that.
Yeah, he been singing Calypso.
Yeah. Total.
Yeah, so you welcome that.
Of course. Young brothers and the others who come from that background as well. They are really the spoilers, the pretenders, the roaring lions of the art form. You know, long ago you'll find Royal Lion and Kitchen and them who have a tent would have already gone and picked them and say, hey, young fella, you're in my tent. We don't have a tent to go and say, young fella, you're in this tent. So we cannot go and scout the way that they would have scouted.
Right.
And that is where, when you look, I was listening to Spiral Calypso yesterday. A young and strong, me and Fred are soul in town. Who think they're about a gunslinger?
Of course.
He's singing about guns and saying they're buying guns and they're making sure, but once they had the guns, nobody can handle them. And that was since the 50s, right? So what Young Brother and these guys do is nothing new. It's just that they're doing it with a different vibration. And when I say different vibration, I want to be clear because we talked about by reggae influence being in Jamaica. When it comes out to a DNA, you can see somebody resembling the next person, and when you check, they have no relation whatsoever. It's just a resemblance. The DNA of reggae, the DNA of what they call Trinidad, and the DNA of Calypso and Soca is the same. It's the same DNA. Even though you might come from a home to where you're looking totally different from your brother, they might say, all ain't related. But when you check the DNA, that is your brother. The DNA, which is what I call the algorithm of all those music, it comes down to one, Calypso. And when I say Calypso, not just Calypso in the way that you might know it from the Sparrows and them, I'm talking about the original Calypso in terms of, there are 9 rhythms. Now, this is something I don't really talk, but there are 9 specific distinct rhythms that makes up the rhythm that we call Calypso. Calypso is not based on one rhythm. That's why you find that when you listen to Calypso, it has, and you listen to rock and roll, you listen to even jazz, You feeling something. That's the DNA talking to you. It's there. So Calypso is not just what you feel it is. Right? We call it by different names, reggae and jazz and rock and roll and all these things. But when you look at the DNA, it's the same, because Calypso, it took the coming together of 9 rhythms to create the original rhythm that we know as Calypso. Right now, what you're hearing about 4 or 5 for the most.
Okay.
You're really hearing 3, but I was sticking a 4th or a 5th out of the 9. So that we lost a lot in the process from the early 1920s come down. We have lost a lot, and that loss came particularly when the banning of the African drumming and the drumming. You take away your cell phone for 100 years. They took away your drums, and that they think that drum is just about entertainment and communication, but it's high science, it's mathematics to the highest degree, highest order of math. That we, over the years, we lose a lot of it. So what we call Calypso now is just about 4 out of the 9.
I see. So you see the Trinidad, the steam, the zest as still in the same essence?
It is the same. To the trained ear who understands the science behind the music, not somebody who just like the music and listen for certain things. Once you understand the science, the cosmic relation that our music have when you deal with cosmology, and not just the subjective wine and jam and how I feel. What this music really is, we are not using it. This is a spiritual music. Calypso is something highly spiritual, the highest form of spirituality in terms of the rhythms. But we have lost that. We have lost the knowledge of it. And by losing the knowledge of it, we have lost what it could do for us as a people. It is a science.
How with you? So then, with this knowledge, you're not surprised when you see somebody like Young Brother come in the arena?
Not surprised at all. I find it took long.
Serious?
Yeah.
So you think they'll come home?
They are home. They are home. It's just that we don't recognize, as I say, we looking for something else.
Yeah.
We're not looking at what is there and understanding that they are home. We want to see them home singing like Attila. We want to see them home singing like Lion, but that has gone. Lion cannot come and sing like that. If you bring back Lion now and all, he cannot sing like them. Everybody has a space. Right? And every is minute degrees of separation. So that it might look like a resembling here, and then next 20 years down, you will look like something different. But when you understand the DNA and the algorithm, because everything has a number assigned to it, it's the same.
I'm with you. So you talk to them now. Your kitchen handpick you and bring you into the thing. You talk to the youths now, and they're feeling like society not accepting them. Society's trying to sideline them, trying to silence them. What would you say to them now?
Be resilient and express your true feeling. Regardless of what society wants to accept, the society changes over time. And what society accepts in 2025 was not the same thing this society accepted when I was a child or when I was a youth in 1990. So it changes. That level of acceptance and tolerance changes. Slavery was something that we embraced at one time. When I say we, the society, song that was good. And now you see what happened.
Yeah, good and lawful.
Yeah, good and lawful. So things change. Your vibe and your energy must not be conform to society per se. It must conform to your natural mystic that is blowing through the air. And once you're in line with that, nothing can stop you. Stick to what you're doing in the way that you're doing it.
I hope they hear that. I hope those messages important coming from you. I feel we living in a society sometimes where part of why I do this is because I feel in society has too much gaps.
Yeah.
So like I deliberately try to decide who I want to put out this week and who I want to put out next week. So when I put out somebody who youths want to hear, I want to put out somebody who the elderly want to hear now, so that they started, maybe they'll hear what the youths saying, because there's just too much disconnects in the society. You
have to Terrat sang it, give the youths a chance to them dance, to them prance. And when you look at it in true context, you need to give them that chance to dance and prance and express themselves the way they see it. It may not conform to what you know, what you would like to know, but it is reflective of the truth. This is what's happening in the society. If you really wish to change it,
change the society.
Right? Simple.
I with you. It reminds me of a song you sing with no more slave movies. Remember
right,
that?
Same thing. Yeah.
Even that back then you're feeling like it, especially when you sang that, it was like era.
Subconsciously,
Yeah. So in terms of the competition going where it is and that kind of thing, and the one in particular, again, maybe my bias is the first investigation and not understanding how you come where you come. You explain this here. I have a theory about why you win the rest of them too. I have a theory about that, because when you're winning with Too Bright, what you was wearing again?
Fragrant outfit.
You dress up too nice for these last competition of them. As they started dress nice,
No, you see,
they're against you.
Right. That could be so correct. No, that can be part of it. That can be part of
it. Try it.
Yeah.
You might catch them again.
Yeah.
But when you look at this at that first investigation on where you place, I going back to that song with Gypsy and Mother Can't. I don't understand like how these songs compare. I didn't understand how he make the final that year either. But again, he's such a professional in terms of his ability to deliver on stage. He's one of the masters,
exactly,
one of the greatest who ever do it.
Exactly.
So he comes out, stands, delivers. But he would have been president of NCC at the time and performing and competing in several competitions. You have the thoughts on that in terms of
it might seem as a conflict of interest in terms of when you look at morality and integrity and all these things. But as he always says, he's a Calypsonian first. And if he can't get away with it, he will get away with it. If you cannot get away with something, then you cannot get away with it.
Yeah.
I had no problems with him being a Calypsonian first.
Right.
But it doesn't take away the fact that in people's mind, it is a conflict of interest.
Yeah, they smell test.
Yeah, so then you have to decide on your own merit if you don't mind keeping a straight face and doing something that, people don't want you to do. Yeah, it's up to you. But in that position, I can't even say what I would have done because you have to be in a position to understand it.
Well, I guess that's fair. But I could guess what you would have done because now you're talking about stepping away. You're going to pursue other interests in the same space. Yeah, I can do that
right now. I'm telling you this, and by next 2 weeks, you can hear, well, Kurt Allen has decided that, But again, I don't want it to come across as making those kind of decisions after coming second in a competition because he didn't win, he vexed.
Yeah.
So it's not about competition. It's about that message that I have to deliver. And I already have my message that I want to deliver next year in terms of, like knowing what I want to focus on. Right. So you could say that my song is done.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so that you could very well hear that I'm not competing, or you could very well hear I'm going harder in the competition.
Oh, okay, good. Well, when you decide come back now, we go talk about that
no
too.
Problem.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to whatever the next iteration is because I appreciate what you and Kenny do in that series. I think it's powerful.
Yeah, man,
I think it's powerful. The people like myself who's social media people have the opportunity to like you see this current issue going on where they say a photographer a photo style hot issue, everybody at a different side.
Yeah.
But we have the opportunity to go on Twitter, go on Facebook and respond emotionally to things immediately. Or even with a lot of research because you have a lot of professional photographers talking about it, Calypsonians talking about it. But I find that series that you all have creates a space where now the griot gets back. We get back the griot because we lost the griot because I feel the Facebook comments and things is what makes the tent, it loses its luster to an extent. Because if I had to hear political commentary or social commentary, when I get that on Facebook, immediately something happens.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's
from uninformed people sometimes like myself who not. But I don't get to hear a complete thought from a Kurt Allen or Mr. Shaq or Corie or anybody who in this space. Because your thoughts ain't gonna come out in a text the same way it will come out in a song.
Yeah. And sometimes why we won't put things out in a text is because we have it for a song. And we want the competitors to know, well, okay, this is where we come.
I would not talk to that at all.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's good that, with the speed that you could produce now, you're willing to go on.
Yeah, I'm willing to go all the way because, that's part of what I want to do now.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming through, brother. This was good enough.
Thanks a lot.
This was a great little. I think people are to hear from you guys more.
Yeah,
and tell Kenny, you say take it easy on you. I'd try to get Kenny Phillips to come up here.
I'll go back to him. He knows that.
I appreciate that, man. And come back through whenever you decide where you're going. And tell Chocolate we send our love.
Will do.
I think the nation is, she's one of them names it was like Chocolate Allen.
Yeah, man.
And then they don't hear, so it's nice to hear she's still pursuing
good. It's just that she's not
different space.
Yeah. She's not even on social media.
No
social media footprint because what she's doing independently and she doesn't do it for hip-hip for nobody to,
of course,
to get involved and make no comments on these kind of things.
Well, listen, we're taking it that the work will have impact as your work.
She's on a number of boards in her community.
Beautiful.
On the finance committee.
Nice.
Cultural committees. And this is in predominantly. It's not the normal areas with West Indian people. It's not, she doesn't have a lot of West Indian people where she is. She's probably the only one based on what we see.
That is real.
She's making a serious impact out there, even as a teacher. I was there And I saw the impact personally where that the students, not just her class, but the entire school embraces her.
That must be proud boy.
The entire teaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
And she's something special to them as she is something special to us.
Of course, yeah, that must be a proud.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. No, I should have taken school more seriously. I should have do some homeschooling myself.
Well, it's never too late. We have kids coming, so
I guess, yeah.
We have about 10 more kids to have.
That's a good place to wrap up. I see Conrad and I'm looking for me. I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah,
Thanks a million.
Nice to be here, man.